Greetings and welcome back to me and to you. So it's been a minute since I've been on here. I had made a video about yin and yang and about balance, which is representative in the Taiji 2 symbol that's very old. Dates actually back to Kemet, which is miscalled Egypt. So it's much older than we think, and also it's not just associated with Chinese heritage, it's associated with the planet Asia, which is where we all exist on this earth, but it was originally called Asia. So there's that. So also when we think about balance and we think about justice, we think about the tarot card in Libra. The tarot card in the tarot, justice, which is ruled by Libra. So I want to talk a little bit about the full moon, even though it already happened and it was a super full moon. I want to talk about what has been discovered with that, because there was a couple of things that were really interesting about this super full moon, besides the fact that there was 2 eclipses a month prior to that. We had a solar eclipse and then we had a lunar eclipse, all in the south node. But what was interesting about this full moon is that not only was it a super moon, when there's a super moon, the moon is closer to the earth. So it makes emotions and the things that are being illuminated, because when the moon is illuminated, things are illuminated for us. Clarity appears in whatever area of life that the moon is aspecting, and whatever area of life that it's affecting in your personal natal chart. So it's really a domino effect of this astrological energy and then how it affects you personally in your chart. So I'm going to talk about just the general energy. I'm not going to talk about anything specific as far as what area of life this may be affecting. However, Libra was involved with this moon, so typically it can be in relationships or any type of partnership, which Libra typically rules over marriage, contracts, whether they're business, whether they're friendship contracts, whatever they are. A contract is something that exists without being on paper. A contract is something that you made, a contract that you made in your mind, a belief system that you agreed to, maybe from childhood, because you really don't have control when you're a child, because you're being given the beliefs of your parents or your family. So, and we're going to get into that and why this is very profound. Excuse me, I had a bagel. Why this is very profound shifts, why it's very challenging. But today I had such a clear realization about this energy, just from my own experience. And I know I don't typically come on here to talk, but this needed to be shared. So when we think about Mars and Pluto was conjuncting Chiron. So we know that Mars and Pluto is basically an ancient type energy. When we think about Mars, we think about Aries, and when we think about Pluto, we think about Scorpio. However, Mars rules Scorpio and Pluto anciently. And Mars is the fire type energy, and Pluto is the water type energy. Mars is cardinal and Pluto is fixed. So interesting thing about Scorpio and Pluto is that Pluto rules the underworld, and the underworld is your subconscious thoughts. That's what the underworld is. That's where the demons are. That's where the ghouls and the goblins and the ghosts come from. It's from your subconscious patterns, right? The way that you think, old ideas that don't work, that basically keep you in a traumatized position or keep you in a negative behavior pattern that blocks you from getting what you want. And these planets are traveling together. So it's like a fire water type energy coming together, where it's like burning up, the old type of ways of thinking, because it's conjuncting Chiron, which is a healing aspect, but it's really uncomfortable. So I noticed a couple of astrologers that I actually was listening to too, talking about how, people are going to be really like aggressive or passive aggressive or doing this crazy things. And it's really not personal, even though it's going to feel super personal, speaking from experience. But you need to be very, very aware of the planetary energy and have a lot of compassion for yourself, and maybe compassion for the person depending on the circumstance. Because you have to discern and make your own decisions based off of what is good for you. But you need to be very, very aware and moving forward. because this energy is still affecting us currently as I'm talking. And I think next week is going to be really challenging too. So when we think about the self, we think about the warrior, right? So we're talking about Mars type energy. Mars is the self. And the thing about Libra is the polar opposite of Mars. So the extreme aspects, we talk about polarity, we talk about yin and yang. And in the video that I recorded, I talked about this. It's about bringing the yin and the yang together, because you have extreme opposites. When we talk about the zodiac chart, we talk about east and we talk about west. East is Aries, which is the self. When the people always say travel east, is travel within the self. Also rules over your ambitions, your drive, your energy. And then we talk about the extreme opposite of Aries. We're talking about Libra, which is contracts, relationships, groups, and duality too, because it rules over duality, because it's a sign of balance. But anciently in Babylon, it was the ravening dogs. So which dog are you going to feed, right? So these are two extreme opposites. And I talk about this in the other video, how if you're too isolated, it can typically, feel very lonely and drive you crazy. But if you're too involved in groups and you're not bringing this energy together, then it could typically make you lose your identity and things like that. So it's really good to understand that too extreme of this energy, too extreme in groups and not enough independence, can make you lose your identity and also make you very bendable and not have a good, clear perception on what is right for you. And too much isolation can slowly drive you crazy and make you feel like the world is against you, maybe, depending on the energy, and that you're alone. So when we talk about Mars, we're talking about looking at the self conjuncting Pluto, looking at the self, subconscious patterns of the self. Also, this was in Cancer. These signs are in Cancer. And Mars is in Cancer. That is a fall of Mars. It does not like to be in Cancer because Mars is a warrior type energy. However, even when a sign is in its determinant, this is very, very important information that's being distributed mentally, psychologically, that is permeating across the energetic field on Earth. Why is that? Because when we look at Mars and we look at Pluto, we're talking about the subconscious minds and bringing light or fire or spark to those ideas that have been created from the family, which is Cancer. Cancer rules over family. It rules over your home. Your home, realistically, is your body. But on the outside world, it's your family, right? That's your home, is where, your family is. So it's like those subconscious patterns that were built from the family that come from maybe trauma or just bad behaviors that were passed down, or ways of being that you integrated into your personality to basically survive, that basically kept you in relationship dynamics that you don't want. So a lot of people could be leaving relationships. A lot of people could be cutting relationships, cutting jobs, like this doesn't work for me anymore, because there's a part of the consciousness that's trying to expand, that's more authentic to who you actually are, instead of what was created from before this era is ending, before the era ended. Whatever was created before was something that was passed down to you that really doesn't resonate with you, but it's something that you did because it is how your family dynamics were, but it's not really who you are. So what does this say? This is very important because this is something that's happening globally, that people are being illuminated about, like subconscious patterns, and it might feel like you're under attack when you're really not being under attack, and you might end up attacking people. So you need to be really aware, and you need to take deep breaths, take deep breaths and meditate and do exercises that slow you down. I know that everybody's going through a lot of different things and it's requiring a lot of action, but just keep in mind that Mars is in Cancer, so you really have to take it easy. And also, Cancer is the most sensitive sign. It's a sensitivity. It's like you're sensitive, you're vulnerable. And Mars is a warrior, doesn't like to be vulnerable, but it's okay to be vulnerable right now to some type of degree, of course, with discernment, depending on your circumstances. But the great thing about this is this energy is going to help you look at subconscious patterns. It's like it's sitting the warrior down within you to have a moment to realize what actually is happening that's real and not what's happening in your mind that you think is happening. What is actually really happening around you versus what you think is happening based off of behavior patterns that have been sculpted and created into your consciousness from childhood, because we're talking about the subconscious. This is actually a really good time to, with a lot of awareness, like pause before reacting emotionally and things like that, because it gives you an opportunity to see why you're being triggered and is it real? Like, is it real? And then you can integrate that information into your being and start understanding, yeah, maybe I need to change, and maybe this environment is triggering me and reminding me of something from my past that's putting me in a position that isn't authentic to who I am. Or maybe I'm just being triggered and I need to wait a moment and everything's fine. But you have to discern basically what is real for you and what is working, what is or isn't working for you, and what is real, what is really happening. So patience is required, tapping into the water energy, investigation. And that's the other thing about Pluto that's so excellent with this Mars energy, because it gives you an opportunity to look up your subconscious patterns with a magnifying glass really close. Because Scorpio is the investigator, it's the detective, it sees behind the scenes. It sees things that, that weren't seen, that other people can't see. So you get an opportunity to do that. And it's conjunct Chiron, which Chiron is the wounded healer. So it's like, this is an opportunity to heal those wounds. When you look at the stories of Chiron, it typically can't heal itself. But I actually think that this is a really good opportunity to be able to heal yourself with the use of these people that are triggering you, and with a lot of awareness, moving through it in a very wise way, circumstance, moment to moment, or circumstance to circumstance, or scenario to scenario. It's about being present. And this goes back to, all these books that have been so important when you look at awareness, when you look at any book that's about self-help, the very famous ones, Power Now, Fourth Agreements, there's so many. The Alchemist is a great book, but it's not about self-awareness. It's about, following your own path, but it misses a lot of, it's very light. It doesn't have the darkness of, the shadows that come with following your own path that much. It does, but it doesn't really expound on it. But, all of the books that are very famous, Awareness, or the movie Little Buddha, and you see Keanu Reeves, looking at his demons and things like that. It's like you need to tap into your Buddha energy right now and be very, very aware, and understand that this is a powerful time and very uncomfortable time to shift major patterns, to create and rewrite new patterns that you want to integrate into your mind, into your being, that support the person that you're trying to become. So that pretty much, let me see, subconscious, family, we talked about all that. So yeah, this was just about Mars, Pluto in Cancer conjunction. I pretty much covered it. We're ending up an era of the South Node, you know what I'm saying? So whatever your experience, get your journals out, write. Write it down, write how you're feeling. Write it all down, because you want to make sure that you're not creating the same patterns from the past if you want to rewrite your story. So that pretty much covers it. Thank you so much for listening. Before I go, if you want assistance about how to do this without booking a consultation, you can buy my book, which is actually finished now, and is available to purchase on my website and some other places. But yeah, so if you want to check it out, you can. It's called Mastering Self-Love Through Mastering You. And this is all what everything's about. It's all about love, man. Love is not just, love is pain, man. It's pain too. It's got to be pain so you can learn and grow about yourself. Relationships teach you about yourself. And this is an opportunity to bring a lot of awareness and create really good new habits and better relationships, maybe, or find better relationships, or attract, more importantly, attract better relationships by being exactly who you are, without the shadows that have been cast over your mind, controlling you, saying that you can't be who you are. And if you can't be who you are in the communities that you have been in for a multiple amount of years, or you feel suppressed by those communities, then it's time to really think about taking that step and leaving. And my book is really good because it helps you understand self-help in a real way, incorporating astrology, because that is how all of the ancients did everything. Yoga, everything is all connected to astrology. So it brings in that extra piece of missing information and helps you begin to create new foundations that support your authentic self and make you empowered, because that's what this is about. This is about standing in your own power. And that doesn't mean, beating somebody up or trying to rip somebody down. It just means being in your own power. And if those people can't handle you being in your own power, then you need to sever. You need to take your sword out and cut the cords and move to communities that support who you actually are. And don't be around people that don't support your authentic self. That is love. Finding places where you're supported for who exactly you're meant to be and who you're exactly meant to become. So again, mastering love through mastering you is out and available, and the book cover is done. I changed it like multiple times. This is the final cover. It's finished, it's complete, and it's ready for you to use. And if you need help, I have consultations available on my site too. Anyway, much love, much peace. Great talking to you. Let's keep it balanced. The Taiji 2 symbol. Let's bring it all together into a seamless stitch so that we can flow like the wolf, which I'm going to say again is the wolf and flow is the same word. Sacred animal, medicine animal that values family. All right. Peace and Islam.